This video is sponsored by Knuckles OX, Baba Snake, Julio the Boy, Blazing Darkness G, and Danny Mash X. If you'd like to directly support my content, as well as catch it early, have your name credited as a sponsor, or maybe even have your What If Ideas produce its commissions, consider visiting the links to my Patreon and such in the description below. Our story resumes as the mysterious stranger Super Saiyan takes on the paradoxically revived Lord Chilled, and the three metal versions of King Cold, Cooler, and Frieza. However, while the Z Fighters may have initially thought this impending battle with the terrifying conquerors and their metallic army would be unlike any struggle they've faced before, this young woman is handling things right off the bat, all with relative ease, as her transformation-boosted battle power, incredible marksmanship, and mastery of her cannon-sized rifle results in her seeming to almost trivialize the entire battle with the initial set of Iron Emperors, simply by launching something she calls the burning attack, with a wild series of heat mirage generating hand gestures, forming a powerful ki blast as a feint before transitioning seamlessly into an explosive dance that fiercely combines an assortment of familiar techniques in a rush attack that goes by in a flash and positions her targets right where she wants them constantly, with maneuvers that appear derived from Saiyan-Cerealian tactics, martial arts, and even a handful of Demon Clan moves. This, combined with the girl's keen and strange awareness of events that haven't even happened or been revealed yet, gives her a superb edge in the battle, as she can instantly identify that only Cooler and Frieza actually survived the Big Gete Star's restoration process, making the Metal King Cold model an even more predictable foe, due to his fully robotic nature removing all sense of ego and instinct that makes Chilled's race so deadly, while also shaking up the old space pirate reptilian and his remaining metal descendants. The stranger from an unknown land then proves this fact by dashing forward and delivering a high strike to Metal Cooler and Metal Frieza as well, with another impressive burst of speed to transition perfectly from close quarters to long-range fighting. She finally fires a killing blow, with a shining gun attack of burning ki blast intensely focused, channeled, and shot through her rifle, all with enough force to put intense strain on the weapon as they land with deadly accuracy and begin to break, demolish, and evaporate the metal copies, even as they try to reform themselves. Now with only the ancestor himself left seemingly, the mystery Super Saiyan is still raring to fight, challenging Chilled to come at her and stop letting others do his dirty work, and she even cockily puts her weapon away, goading the oldest space emperor into another fight with the Super Saiyan, even though Chilled reveals himself to be stronger than ever now, and most horrifying of all, thanks to the millennia he has survived against the odds of a cruel fate, the old space dog has learned new tricks and become capable of transforming into a final form of his own, allowing him to unleash even more of his pure raw potential and battle power. What's more, he thinks this little girl won't be much trouble if she doesn't use that remarkably oversized blaster. However, with a confidence and swagger that can only come from knowing what will happen before others do, the girl cockily throws away her weapon to her foe, while taunting Lord Chilled to take a look at it, or even use it against her if he likes, and find out, though mirroring King Cold's fate in the canon timeline when attempting the same scheme. As per his role in the story, Chilled's attempt to fire a death beam bullet at the young woman is thwarted by her openly catching and nullifying the attack, as she declares that the weapon does not make the woman, right before employing the cold judgment of an experienced fighter to sharply snuff out the old organic tyrant with a godbreaker before he can dare cause a bad future or any further damage to history. But when her deed is done, the young woman suddenly swears off of fighting any further, for an equally unknown reason as her origin, while calling out to the hidden Z warriors. She apologizes for not introducing herself properly, but warns that they all need to be prepared, since more metal copies of the wicked bloodline and their Cyclopean robot guards are coming out of the Big Gete Star, which they still need to deal with itself, as she also conveys their enemy's weakness, but with it, a refusal to fight any further, as in truth, she fears altering the timeline any further than this exact point if she can help it, being her first time doing this and all, and so with no other choice but to trust the stranger. The Z Fighters engage with the other revealed metal copies of the wicked bloodline and their one-eyed robot troops that make up this new army of evil admirably, and even to some decent effectiveness, though their sheer numbers and the gaps in power between them and the metal emperors still proves a challenge that shows everyone they have not yet reached the true pinnacle of strength, even though they are able to hold off this invasion of Earth by themselves for nearly a full 5 minutes, since mirroring the original Metacooler film, targeting the Cyclopean robot guards made by the Big Gete Star with precise, focused, fully ki-empowered strikes can be devastating for them, allowing at least the characters to remain relative on Namek as his B-team in support in King Piccolo, Goku, Vegeta, Granola, Raditz, and Gas to prove extremely effective as they work at thinning out the numbers of the Wicked Bloodline's metallic underlings and the assembled space pirates and Frieza Force soldiers. And because this battle would indeed take place on Earth instead of New Namek, there are a lot more fighters to help out, from our canonical Dragon Team / Z Fighters to the more senior / movie influenced band of warriors that have come to form Bardock's version of the Z Fighters, as characters like Gine would be present to fight as well. Eventually, the Feeling the sensation of the blazing battle going on, Bardock and Muesli arrive ahead of schedule out of curiosity, using instant transmission, an amazing new trick of Bardock's learned on the planet they have been staying on for the last year called Yardrat, where they had also gotten some new fancy clothes, which they politely ask King Piccolo to do them a solid, and help them change out overly quickly as things get dicey. Now with the Super Saiyan and Super-Cerealian back in the fight, the metal lineage of evil face a greater struggle as this Namek battle rematch here would go nearly exactly like Goku and Cooler's rematch from the movie, especially considering the force Muesli can provide, now that she has learned her own Yardratian trick, and a cloning technique that places the odds greater in the hero's favor, with things being on near equal footing by all appearances at first, until Metal Cooler and Metal Frieza integrate the adaptation from the Big Gete Star, as well as their regenerative ability and sheer number, to eventually overwhelm even this stronger Bardock after a year of training on this unknown planet. Not only this, but unbeknownst to him until he tries to catch them off guard with it seems that the metal copies can use this instantaneous movement ability as well, thus seeing his fancy new trick quickly turned against him, and of all things, forcing Turles to actually work with his brother, as when he sees Frieza and Cooler about to choke the life out of him, he can't help but to jump in and declare that he's the only one who can dig Bardock's grave. While this is initially met with scorn and dismissal from Metal Cooler and Metal Frieza, as by now they know Turles doesn't have the power to back up his big mouth, he however corrects them in a stunning revelation of the advancements he has made over the last year, as opposed to the canonical Vegeta at this point. The dark-skinned Saiyan reveals that in his short trip to space and training afterwards, he obsessed over his older brother, more than usual, and more importantly, that coveted golden power of the legendary Super Saiyan he wanted to experience so bad, as it caused him a lot of introspection, the kind that Vegeta wasn't exactly ready for by this point, but which Turles is, like recognizing that even with the many planets and fruit that he has destroyed and consumed to earn the power of the evil Saiyan form, it was in the end only about as strong as his brother's Kyle whatever in the spirit of the Saiyans combined. Maybe a bit stronger, but even so, he would need way more power, and a more genuine and pure desire to obtain it. He wanted to be a Super Saiyan, really badly, so much that it made him feel like a little bratty kid again. And now, this upstart little girl has waltzed in and used the power like it's nothing. What's more, a part of him still fears that Gene could likely do the same thing, which has as a result angered the younger brother to reach just the right amount of fury and need for a greater strength as to obtain his own Super Saiyan transformation a bit earlier than Vegeta would in canon, with this allowing Turles and Bardock to reluctantly fight against the Metal Army together as a new equal-footed super spearhead for the Z-Fighters, as fighting together for the first time since they were children in this full-powered final showdown seems to come seamlessly to the Super Saiyan sibling duo, with cooperation between brotherly rivals that allows for effective combo moves and stronger offense and defense. Turles can better focus his newly discovered power of the Saiyan lineage on nothing but attack until their foes are scrap metal, while Bardock can better center his ki and spirit control to protect from sneak attacks using instantaneous movement. It is a brilliant display of the legendary power of an indomitable united front, though among the countless number of Metal Frieza and Coolers, this eventually results in their capture and being brought inside the Big Gete Star, at which point non-combatants and exhausted fighters alike ask the mysterious girl to rejoin the battle in this crucial moment. However, she instead tells them all that she is popping popcorn for the light show, as she opens up a capsule containing a mini fridge with ice-cold drinks, assuring everyone that they've done a great job, and that things are actually going according to schedule for their victory. From here, the events of this fused Mecha Frieza / Metal Cooler saga would return to form with their original timelines, as Bardock and Turles are captured by the Metal Copy Army, and taunted by the rival pair of tyrannical brothers, who reveal their means of barely surviving, only to now reluctantly co-pilot the machine planet known as the Big Gete Star, a steep price to pay to learn the value of cooperation, like the Saiyans are about to come to find out, as they had already been plotting this entire time to coup d'etat their dear ancestor Chilled and drain him of his life force, adding his metal copy and battle power to their ranks, just like they plan to do to the Super Saiyans now. And afterwards, they will head to New Namek, and then all of those other rebellious scum planets and species they brought back to do the same to them. But when this process starts, and Cooler and Frieza absorb the exact amount of energy they are capable of safely integrating and storing as per the Big Gete Star's parameters, Bardock and Turles share the same underhanded thought, and thus act as one to destroy the Big Gete Star, by giving the villainous brothers all the energy they can handle if they want it so badly, with this overloading the Big Gete Star, destroying the metal copies, and freeing Super Saiyan Bardock and Super Saiyan Turles, with the two brothers pulling off one last reluctant team effort, as Bardock charges a super final spirit cannon and is deliberately captured to goad Frieza and Cooler into revealing their own final gambit, of forming a hastily made twin-headed cyborg body around what little remains of their original selves, as they stated it's impossible for the Saiyans to best them yet again, while Turles freeing his elder brother with a slickly formed razor-sharp disc of ki. Questions if any such thing as impossible could even exist for Saiyans, as the pair successfully destroy the giant Metal Frieza and Cooler core, and the Big Gete Star along with it, ceasing its consumption and invasion of the planet, and ending this crisis before a dismal future could even come about. In the aftermath, everyone is healed up and given sensu beans, with Bardock even annoyingly asking King Piccolo to swap them back to their Yardrat outfits, since it is a special homecoming occasion, while the super dark demon Namekian cranky and gripes about this not being a boutique. Now with a moment to breathe and actually celebrate, everyone officially welcomes Bardock and Muesli home, with Gene especially giving her mates a tackle hug nearly more powerful than any blow the entire Metal Wicked Bloodline army was capable of with that rain of machinery. Nonetheless, he is exceedingly happy to be reunited with his first mate, and greets her as he always would after long, dangerous missions, with the two lovers sharing an embrace that relaxed them enough to unwrap their tails from their waists, instead gently swaying them in delight at each other's company after such a long absence. On the other hand, Muesli cheekily tells Gine that she got their idiot and kids back, causing the two to share a laugh and gently rest their foreheads against one another. While contrasting this, Goku, Bulma, and the others try to introduce Bardock to the mysterious Super Saiyan stranger, and are thus confused when it's revealed that they have never met or spoken with each other. Despite this, the fact remains that this person knew exactly what time Bardock and Muesli would be arriving, and beyond that, she has an undeniably strange and stylish look about her that seems rather unforgettable. Though changing the subject from this, the young woman requests a chance to speak with none other than Gine, and alone at that, with the older woman not taking much convincing to allow this request, even as the others still seem very wary. With this small reunion and meeting officially commenced, the remaining Z fighters watch as Gine and the mystery girl fly a ways away, deciding to make small talk with one another to pass the time until they can learn what's going on, as Turles begins to boast and brag about his attaining the Super Saiyan state, while annoyingly snarking that spending all his time alone with a woman is probably why Bardock didn't get as strong as his younger brother imagined he would, accusing the scarred Saiyan of being just like their father in more ways than one, with this beginning a petty argument between the two siblings, one that seems to erode all the progress so suddenly made in the relationship, in order to finish off a shared nemesis. Adding into this tete-a-tete are of course the sons of Bardock and Prince Vegeta, who begin to bicker and argue themselves on behalf of their father and mentor figures. While adding to this immature and comedic scene, even Muesli loudly and vehemently takes the bait offered by Turles, stating with a tomato-red face her frustration with Bardock over their training of the techniques of Yardrat, and that after that year, she wouldn't dare let him get all lovey-dovey with her, as she was still blaming him for why she couldn't pick up instantaneous movement, so that before long, it would be almost impossible for anyone to overhear anything of a private conversation, as even King Piccolo begins to groan and growl for all the fools to shut up and allow him to focus. At the same time, the more interesting conversation between Gine and the young girl commences, with a small, simple, and genuine set of gestures to establish trust, such as Gine thanking the young woman for defeating Frieza and Cooler, while the girl expresses her own thanks for Gine appreciating her privacy, reluctantly admitting that had she known about Bardock's instant transmission, she actually would have never intervened, and could have waited for the Wicked Bloodline issue to resolve itself before approaching Gine while she was alone, and avoiding the risk of meeting all the other Z-Warriors. The stoic and moody expression of this regret seeming to weigh so heavily on this young woman, however, strikes within Gine a small spark of vivid recognition, as she questions what she means by risk exactly, stating that she doesn't mind answering that question straightforwardly at least. The young woman agrees to open up, but first, she must ask if at this point Gine has gained the ability to transform into a Super Saiyan at will. But thinking carefully, the Saiyan mother considers it, and admits that outside of maybe some of her wildest dreams or visions in training, she's never even imagined a form as powerful as the one the young woman in Bardock showcased today, since way back when, just becoming a great ape used to give her a lot of trouble. Though that said, it wasn't like she was sitting stagnant all that time everyone was away in space, as she claims she can attain her hysterical form at will now, and what's more, she's able to better control and regulate her power in that state, without losing herself, or actually needing someone precious to her to be in danger, making the ability something more akin to a rage boost, or even a more true-to-form Ikari state. Asking to be shown this ability, the mystery girl is certainly impressed to view it up close, as Gine undergoes a slight transformation, then asking what's next for her new friend. Gine is a bit shocked when the young girl confidently states she wants to show her first hand what Super Saiyan is like, as she too transforms once more, causing Gine to marvel at how similar these powers appear on the surface, until the girl suddenly challenges her to a short spar to find out just how similar they really are, drawing her rifle from her back as their oars glow across the mountains in bright gold and white, though Gine doesn't object or even ready herself with a stance, as the young woman prepares, aims, and instantly fires the weapon at her, with no signs of hesitation or remorse appearing until her shot is fully loosed, and suddenly misses Gine by a wide and obviously intended margin, leaving the barrel smoking by the mother's head as she smirks. While the young girl is shocked that the other Saiyan wouldn't avoid this, Gine sweetly states that after searching her feelings, she knew she would miss on purpose. However, on the second attempt, the young woman insists she will not stop or miss on purpose, to which Gine responds by summoning and condensing a great deal of her power and ki into a single finger. So then the next moment, when the mystery sniper begins firing a barrage of blasts at Gine, she is just barely able to deflect and block most of the same attacks used to turn the Wicked Bloodline into ground beef. Ultimately though, because this test is being done between forms with a difference in scaling, the final blast is not only enough that Gine must use her entire hand to deflect it, but it is also potent enough that it feels numb from the force afterwards. And even then, while it is obviously an impressive showing on both sides, the younger Super Saiyan was clearly holding herself back a bit, and fighting with her heart not truly being in the battle this time, though it proves Gine most certainly has the strength and potential to become a Super Saiyan any moment now. She's likely just missing the emotional trigger. Regardless, this has the intended effect for both sides, with the mystery girl learning the limits of the person she seeks to give her message to, while Gene now more concretely understands the next stage of power she wants to reach, in order to best protect and nurture her family, as she, like Turles before her, can't help but to feel her Saiyan blood excited by the challenge of catching up to Bardock. At the same time, the spectating Z-fighters are all just as amazed and confused by the short spar, with Turles still somewhat fuming and questioning how this rando so easily gained the power of a Super Saiyan, and pondering just how many more once-in-a-lifetime legends will be popping up into reality as he glances over at Gene, Vegeta, Raditz, and Kakarot, while apologizing once again for all the secrecy, and once more asking for Gine's word that she won't tell anyone the more sensitive parts of what's about to be said. Gene, having never had issues keeping secrets, eagerly promises, and so the mystery girl thanks the Saiyan woman, and properly introduces herself as Barley, stating that in reality, she is not from this time. While it would be true that if a stranger saying something so crazy wanted to speak with Bardock as our usual main character in such circumstances, he would likely be a lot harsher and more forceful in his interrogation. And admittedly, in my first draft for the script, I had planned for the warning to be given to Bardock, but eventually dropped that idea on account of it not feeling in line with the original events of canon. Plus, unlike Goku, Bardock would be, citing from his broader knowledge of the universe that he knows species like the Canossians and Cerealians have a minor ability to see into possible futures, and by the looks of her hair and eyes, she appears to be at least partially a member of the latter species. But what she's been doing has been more acting on extremely accurate intel of what's going to actually happen, rather than just reacting to possible outcomes. And beyond that, she is somehow also a Super Saiyan, as fantastically impressive as that is at her age, despite the fact that the Saiyans were only recently revived, and the odds of any of them having grown this strong, or had hybrid children so quickly, seem almost astronomical. Thus, this woman, ironically to what Turles said earlier, seems to exist as an impossibility. So in my initial draft, it also came off as more interrogation than friendly conversation, just as it would if Trunks had tried to give his message to Vegeta instead of Goku, while Gine is similarly sharp, wise, and intelligent enough to pick up on these things. Her shared gentleness and empathy with Kakarot make her a significant amount more approachable and easier to convey the facts of a tough conversation under these circumstances. And what's more, she just has a bit more intuition and tact, at least in the way I perceived her short portrayal in canon, and thus have written her. So even if she really wanted to get to the reveal of how this girl has Saiyan and Cerealian blood, she'd be more patient and understanding than anyone else would, until it is finally said that this young woman comes from a time nearly 20 years in the future, admitting that Bardock and Turles' suspicions upon seeing Barley were correct, even with the revival of those two dead species. A time in which they have been united has not yet come. Nevertheless, she claims that Bardock is her father, and in 2 years' time, she will be born, which hearing sends Gine into giddy excitement and surprise, as she jokes that she can't believe Bardock became a daddy again, and with Barley being half Cerealian, and Gine having common sense, mother's intuition, and an uncanny ability to recognize Bardock and Muesli's offspring after raising Kakarot, Granola, and Raditz, she doesn't even really need to be told who the mother is, merely quipping that it only took her a bit to recognize, since Barley's a great deal more laid back and calm than either of her parents. She's honestly just more shocked and happy that it eventually does happen, as man oh man are they the two feistiest people she knows. That said, even with her excitement at the fruit of her mate's union, Gine needs to be reminded to keep quiet, as Barley worries that alterations to the timeline could negate the spontaneous moment of passion that led to her birth, resulting in her needing to almost beg the romance-loving Saiyan harem queen to allow nature to take its course, and patiently listen to the rest of her tale. Coughing to regain her composure, Barley states this revelation isn't what she came here to tell Gine. Her warning is instead this: in 3 years' time, on the morning of May 12th, age 750, at 10 a.m., a horribly destructive duo will show up on an island 9 miles southwest of South City. They have dreadful power, even by the standards of the Z-Warriors. Barley stresses to Gine with trauma-induced reverie that this pair are monsters, and that once they surface, the Earth and everything Gine knows will be gone for good. Asking what their deal is, and if this mysterious duo are aliens, Gine is instead shocked to hear that they are simply androids created right here on Earth, with the revelation blowing Gine's mind even more than it would Goku's in canon, on account of her being more accustomed to space technology, which was on average much more advanced than what could be found on Earth. What's more, Barley claims their creator is named Dr. Gero, and that he is in reality the genius mad scientist who was truly in control of an organization their family once ran afoul of long ago, known as the Red Ribbon Army, to which Gine admits having heard about it somewhat once or twice, but didn't think it to be very serious as a threat, at least considering how easily Kakarot and his brothers defeated them, as even Bardock mentioned having to tell them off once or twice. Shocking her more that the untrained Earthling leader of such a group survived through possible skirmishes where her family wasn't holding back, to which Barley rather darkly says it's thanks to her father and brother's mercy and lack of foresight, apologizing for sounding harsh as she knows Gine and their family are good people, but she cites that in her time, that's a battle Goku would come to wish he fought to the very end, as it was a mistake that came back to haunt everyone they know, as the Gero of this time is likely working on his monsters even as they speak. Barley still isn't even sure where his laboratory is. If she did know, she'd be paying him a visit rather than Gene. Beyond that, it's hard to describe these creatures to Gene, as they're unlike anyone the Saiyan woman or the others have ever faced. Nothing even comes close to rivaling the technology that gave them birth. It's mind-boggling just how strong they really are. Gene questions what Gero's plan and end goal is, but Barley says no one really knows. Since the moment those things were able to think for themselves, they rebelled and have had their own twisted and merciless agenda ever since then. She claims there is no rhyme or reason to what they do, and that they are just machines of destruction, man-eaters whose first act upon being born was to turn on their own creator, Dr. Gero himself. Needless to say, these androids are ruthless, and they delight in causing pain and chaos, making it so that living on Earth in Barley's time is a nightmare of always running, hiding, and looking for a way out to escape or survive a bit longer. This statement, as well as the fact that Gine is weaker than Barley at this point, unlike Goku to Trunks and Canon, really hammers home to Gine the significance of this message from the future, as children of the Metal Frost teams were defeated in a flash by this young Saiyan-Cerealian Hybrid. But from what she says, these androids are even stronger than Barley, which she openly admits to. And what's worse is that hunting her down is one of the androids' favorite hobbies, and because it's 2 against 1, there isn't much she can do but run. However, even that's not particularly true, as the duo, being the current leaders of the Red Ribbon, command a legion of cybernetic hunter-killer robots that patrol the planet and enslave all of humanity for the entertainment of Dr. Gero's androids, betraying even the army's own former organic soldiers. And while the individual Metallotrons Barley warns aren't extraordinarily dangerous, being capable of being destroyed by advanced earthen weaponry or even basic martial arts, their mass-produced nature and the surveillance state they create forms a sort of cruel artificial intelligence or hive mind that's sole purpose is to aid in the androids, making Barley's world a true living hell. Devastated by this implication, Gine questions how that can be. Aren't all their friends and family helping the young Earthbred warrior or any of the other survivors of Earth? But Barley says they can't because they are dead, stating with certainty that 3 years from now, the Earth Special Forces will all be gone. Turles, Krillin, Yamcha, Roshi, Tien, Chaozu, Tao, Shin, Hercule, Mr. Satan, Devilman, Dr. Wheelo, Vegeta, Granola, Raditz, Piccolo, Manito, Gas, even the immortal Garlic Jr. They are all going to lose their lives in one way or another against the androids in a horrible battle, and there will be only one survivor. That's Barley's master, best friend, and older brother Goku. He narrowly escapes from that initial battle, but then 13 years later, they finally get him. That was 4 years ago in Barley's time. And with future Kami and King Piccolo, as well as his soon-to-hatch child Piccolo Jr. and future Manito all dead, there is no using Earth's Dragon Balls to wish any of them back to life. And so after that, Bulma, being one of the only other survivors, found a way to conquer the secrets of time travel in order to keep hope alive. What's more, it should be mentioned that if this seems a bit too weighted in the android's favor, keep in mind that timeline-wise, we are actually just now getting to the point in the continuity where the Red Ribbon Army was actually at its strongest and most resourceful, rather than decades after the organization had fallen to ruin. So by definition, it is much more possible for a campaign launch now, and thus the actual army part of the name, as well as the Terminator/Days of Future Past inspiration of the original history of Trunks, to shine through at this point. Curious about if Bardock, Muzi, and herself die in this battle as well. Gine is once again shocked to hear that her mates actually die before this battle, both instead perishing of a new virus that attacks the heart, and which takes nearly 20 years to discover a cure for, while future Gine would actually survive for a while on account of not attending the initial battle, long enough that Barley has a few memories of her, and even admits to viewing Gine as the closest thing she's experienced to a mother. That is before the Saiyan sacrificed herself to buy future Goku and Barley a window to escape from the androids. But this really bumming Gine out on account of the bad future that's been prophesized, but more because she knows that future Bardock must really hate the afterlife if he didn't even get a chance to have a final fight, and she can't even imagine the heartbreak future Muzi endured, never getting to see her second-born grow, and losing her first not long afterwards. Now shocking Barley at this strength of will from her adopted mother of another timeline, as well as this piece of information regarding the characters of the parents she never met. Barley is blown away, recognizing the resolve of her mother figure, and stating that Goku and Bulma were totally right about her, and just having spoken with Gine has restored her faith and hope, thus seeing her gift Gine with 2 doses of the cure for the heart virus in her time. Fearfully, Barley admits that she shouldn't be doing this, as it will change history, but in her eyes, some histories need to be changed. Things are already pretty bad. Everyone in Barley's time is living in fear with no way out. It's terrible, but Barley knows that Gine can make a difference, as Goku said his mother could, and now she truly believes him. From here, because Barley's mother was already revealed, she and Gene focus more on the solution at hand, as it's stressed that all the Z-Warriors need to train harder than they have ever conceived of. Even the limits they broke through in order to overcome Frieza and his family must now be far surpassed if they want to change the course of fate. And so when the message is fully delivered, we see Barley and Gine begin their goodbyes, the Saiyan matriarch expressing her immense gratitude for all Barley has done for them, stating with a genuine and palpable love for a child that is not even of her own blood or timeline, that she just can't wait to see Barley born so that she can spoil her absolutely rotten. In turn, Barley thanks Gine for helping her in a lot of ways, both by making her feel less alone since future Goku died, as he was the last person who understood her and her power, but also because meeting this younger version of Gine has been almost like finding a long-lost sister. Thus, feeling a bit more sentimental and clingy than Goku would in canon, Gine actually offers Barley a much-needed and well-deserved hug, praising her as an extremely brave young woman who she is proud of and knows her parents would be so as well, ending her praise with a declaration that Gine will be with Barley in spirit no matter where she goes, causing the young woman to as well begin to tear up until they break their embrace and she flies away without a goodbye to the others, trusting her new friend to give it for her, leaving Gine to ponder how she is to explain what she needs to without endangering the time traveler. Thankfully, the answer to this conundrum is revealed when she rejoins the others and finds out that King Piccolo's massive and pointy green ears are not just for framing his face, as he was able to hear the entire conversation, shocking and scaring Gine, only for the demonic Namekian to compromise with her, that he won't say anything that would endanger the mystery girl, but at the same time, the rest of them deserve a chance to change their destinies, not just her. And so the whole story is conveyed once again, making it so that each of Earth's fighters know their fates 3 years in advance, and resolving for many with experience or cold and logical judgment to already begin drafting up their plans for training over the next 3 years, so that they might actually live past them. As this discussion is held, the group witnesses Barley departing for home in her time machine, with a young woman sparing a moment to look down on everyone and wish them luck and a final goodbye, as she was delighted in meeting so many of them after never having gotten a chance to, especially her father, who she now recognizes why everyone stated was so impressive and prideful, while to her young mother, she feels nothing but the same respect, wishing her a farewell and a hope that the good spirits keep her safe before she disappears. As the young Super Saiyan Barley heads downstream of the River of Time, Gine and the others consider the fantastic prophecies that she left behind. However, initially, this results in a rather spirited debate about how to actually act on Barley's warning, with some like the Saiyans and more prideful martial artists and space-traveling warriors tempering their pride on taking the time to train and eventually fight against the androids together properly, while some headed by the likes of Bulma, Pilaf, Dr. Wheelo, and other logic-based brainiacs try arguing that they seek out and eliminate Dr. Gero now, before he presents a threat, as the disembodied brain expresses the confidence in being able to locate Gero's lab, mostly on account of all mad scientists knowing at least vaguely where each other's labs are. However, these voices are far less successful in championing their position, not to mention, Bardock feels a bit cagey and hypocritical about judging and attacking someone before they've actually done something evil, or rather something else evil in Gero's case. Otherwise, he wouldn't have seen fit to revive the other Saiyans, causing Turles to scoff and once more call his brother a soft-hearted optimist, with this point ending the discussion of acting before the enemy does, and instead focusing on their preparation and training to change the future. And so, with both fearful and confident encouragements and challenges to each other to work hard over the next 3 years, or simply not to attend the battle, the group splits up to begin pursuing greater heights of strength in order to protect the Earth and their peace once again. Thankfully, even with so many characters in our cast of heroes, determining how everyone would train isn't that difficult. First off, our characters who will be present in the regular canon likely wouldn't change how they train, but would just refine it or take advantage of the different circumstances of the Android saga occurring when the Red Ribbon Army arc is usually supposed to. So instead of just Tien and Chaozu going off into the far mountains of the world to train on their own, the Korean school itself as a whole goes off into the coldest mountains they can find, giving them the benefits of these reformed and stronger versions of Tao Pai Pai and Master Shin to train them, with the same going for the Turtle School, as rather than Krillin having to work to receive training from Roshi on his own, or Yamcha wasting a decent portion of his time around Capsule Corp wondering about Vegeta, rather than his own survival, the orange-clad martial artists train intensely together, meaning these groups will be able to train a lot harder and more efficiently to try their best to keep up with the pace of this timeline and its heightened threats, as Roshi wouldn't be the only veteran fighter being called upon to give more difficult training than they've ever devised before, as even Hercule and Mr. Satan will be hard at work with Devilman at Satan's castle. Secondly, there are certain characters who in canon don't usually act as Z fighters, but do here, or who have fought in the past, or at least during the story Saiyan saga, that we can safely assume like Yajirobe wouldn't want anything to do with this fight. A prime example being Ox King, Anin, and Chi-Chi, since after Gas and Nappa's attack on the Sacred Flame Guard, and then the King of Mount Frypan dying in the invasion of the Crusher Corps, the family has been through the ringer as of late, having more than earned a break, and they wouldn't be the only ones, as instead, they realize there are many other ways to support the Earth's defenders. Really, the most interesting / hardest to place training would be for Bardock's family and the other main alien defenders of the Earth, since there are multiple ways to approach it. For example, in an effort to aid Barley's conception, Gene could go for a scheme like trying to isolate Bardock and Muesli to train without prying eyes, but ultimately, she'd be wise enough to realize that's likely not how things went down in Barley's timeline. Plus, with how long it's been since they've trained as a family, it's always possible that acting naturally and just enjoying their time with everyone could just as well lead to the desired outcome. Beyond this, if Muesli is to be with Child, it means she can effectively only receive 2 years of training rather than a full 3, so the whole clan's help may be necessary to pick up the slack and ensure no one is left behind. Thankfully, even King Piccolo is happy to accept an invitation from Bardock to train alongside them, as it would also make Kakarot happy, and it gives the king an excuse to keep leaving that egg he spat out with Kami when Naito or Gine, since overhearing that it is so soon to hatch has already begun to freak the Demon King out a bit, thus mirroring Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo Jr.'s training in the canon story. Bardock, Gine, Muesli, King Piccolo, Raditz, Granola, and Goku decide to work hard together over the next 3 years. Meanwhile, in contrast to the Prince of All Saiyans canon preparation for the androids, Turles winds up finding himself suddenly looked to for guidance by more than just Vegeta after his exploits against Frieza and Cooler, as the likes of Nappa, Gas, and the Heaters are now left with really nowhere to go, and an aimless sense of lost direction, which the dark-skinned space pirate is more than willing to and able to reignite by calling for them to follow his lead instead, and work to get stronger for their eventual revenge and victory over Bardock. Even though he alone will be the one to claim his life in the end, he doesn't mind a couple of rivals, as be it various claims to the title of hero, conqueror of the Saiyans, or even a desire or duty to defeat Bardock once Elect's true fate has been surmised. All of these warriors can be pushed even farther for the sake of Turles' own benefit, since being the schemer he is, he would quickly reason that if Bardock unlocks any more transformations in his family and trains with them, it's completely possible he'll be able to far surpass Turles, and as that is completely unacceptable, he decides not to lose this self-established competition by pledging that with the gravity machine of his commandeered Capsule Corp ship, along with Nappa, Oil, and Maki's help to train the two runts, he will make Vegeta and Gas strong enough to break their own limits and awaken their true power, while at the same time, they can also work to fly the ship around the planet and slowly cross off locations their Shiro's lab isn't, just in case that grants them an extra chance to end things before Bardock can, though inadvertently, this will result in a quote-unquote evil version of Bardock's original pilgrimage around the world. Bardock, his family, and his friends have only 3 short years to prepare for the arrival of Dr. Giro's evil androids, and they plan to use every minute of it, heeding the advice of Barley and stepping up their training with all of them working like never before. But will these powerful enemies still be too much for them to handle? Not if Bardock, King Piccolo, or the mighty Turles have anything to say about it when the dreaded time finally comes, and the Z-Fighters attend their date with Destiny, a destiny that depends on them defeating an enemy more powerful than any before. Don't miss the battle of the century on the next Dragon Ball Z. What if Bardock's family escaped together?